Let me ask you something. When was the last time you got a letter in the mail telling you your taxes were going up? When was the last time someone called a vote, passed a law, and said, starting next year, we are taking an additional 5% from everyone? It never happened, because they found a smarter way to do it. Right now, there is a tax being collected from your bank account and salary. It is not listed on your pay stub. It does not show up on your tax return. There is no line item, no notification, no signature required. It is called inflation. And it is the most powerful, most invisible, most perfectly designed tax in the history of human civilization. Now here's what most people get completely wrong. They describe it as a natural economic phenomenon, something that just happens, like weather. That explanation is not just incomplete. It is the story they need you to believe, so you never go looking for who benefits, because here is the question that changes everything. When money loses value, where does that value actually go? It does not disappear. It does not vanish into thin air. It transfers. It moves from one pocket to another. And once you understand whose pocket it moves into, you will never look at a price tag or a paycheck the same way again. Stay with me, because what I am about to show you has been sitting in plain sight for decades. And you are going to know exactly what to do about it. First, we need to follow the money. And the trail starts somewhere most people would never think to look. Let's start with what inflation actually is. Not the textbook definition, the real one. Inflation is the reduction in the purchasing power of money over time. Every dollar you own buys less than it did 12 months ago. Your salary did not shrink. Your bank balance did not change. But your money became worth less. Inflation does not affect everyone equally. It follows a consistent pattern that lines up with who has power in the financial system. Inflation devastates savers. If you have $10,000 in savings, you have effectively lost $500 of purchasing power. Your discipline and sacrifice have been taxed without your consent. But here's the part that should stop you cold. Inflation actively rewards debtors. If you borrowed money 10 years ago, the dollar amount you owe does not change with inflation. You are paying back less than you borrowed. Inflation eroded the real value of your debt while you slept. Who are the largest debtors in the world? Governments, corporations, banks. The United States government carries over $33 trillion in debt. Inflation shrinks that value by trillions annually. This is a wealth transfer from savers to debtors. From the many to the few, executed silently and legally every day. But who actually controls the inflation dial? The answer involves a building in Washington and a decision made behind closed doors. There is a building in Washington, D.C., where 12 people sit around a table and make a decision that affects your financial life. They are the Federal Open Market Committee, the decision-making body of the Federal Reserve. The primary tool they use to manage the economy is interest rates, the lever that sits directly underneath the inflation dial. When the Federal Reserve lowers interest rates, borrowing becomes cheaper, more money flows, prices rise, inflation increases. When the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, borrowing becomes more expensive, less money flows, prices stabilize, inflation decreases. The Federal Reserve controls inflation. That is their explicit mandate, written into their founding charter. Controlling the money supply is too important and too consequential to leave to the democratic process. The inflation rate, the tax on your savings, is set by an unelected committee, not by a vote or your representatives. Who are these 12 people? Many have spent their careers inside the very financial institutions that benefit most from the policies they set. The revolving door between the Federal Reserve and major investment banks is one of the most well-documented realities in American finance. This is about understanding the architecture of a system designed with specific beneficiaries in mind. And those beneficiaries were not you. When the Fed printed trillions in 2020 and 2021, the money supply expanded. More dollars in circulation means each dollar is worth less. The inflation that followed was not a surprise. It was the predictable, inevitable consequence of a deliberate decision. A decision made by people whose institutions held assets that inflated in value. Real estate, stocks, commodities, everything the wealthy own went up. Everything the ordinary saver held, cash and bonds, went down in real terms. The dial was turned. And the people turning it knew exactly what would happen. The same knowledge that reveals the trap also reveals the exit. And that exit is closer than you think. Everything you just learned is not a reason to feel helpless. It is a blueprint. Because the same rules that make inflation a weapon against savers also tell you exactly what to hold instead of cash. Think about it. Inflation destroys the value of money. But inflation actually increases the value of real things, hard assets, productive assets, things that have inherent value independent of what any government prints. This is exactly why the wealthy do not keep their net worth in cash. They never have. They keep it in assets. And now you are going to understand why that is not just a preference. It is the rational response to a system designed to erode cash. Let's go through the moves, specifically, practically, starting today. Move 1. Stop letting inflation eat your cash savings. Every dollar sitting in a standard savings account at 0.5% interest in a 5% inflation environment is losing 4.5% of its real value annually. That is not a small number. On $10,000, that is $450 of purchasing power gone every year, silently, automatically, without your permission. Move your cash savings to a high-yield savings account. It does not beat inflation by a dramatic margin, but it closes the gap enormously. And it is the single easiest move you can make today, in 15 minutes, with zero risk. Move 2. Own assets that inflation cannot touch. The stock market, specifically broad index funds, has historically returned approximately 10% annually over long time periods. That is roughly 5 to 7% above the inflation rate. Money invested in a broad index fund does not just survive inflation, it outpaces it. It grows in real terms year after year. This is why investing is not optional in an inflationary world. Keeping money in cash while inflation runs is a guaranteed slow loss. Investing in productive assets is how ordinary people protect their wealth. When the Federal Reserve prints money and assets inflate, the person holding index funds participates in that asset inflation. The same mechanism that transfers wealth away from savers works in your direction, because you own a piece of the assets going up. Move 3. Understand debt differently. We are not talking about consumer debt. Credit card debt, payday loans. Those remain your enemy. Their interest rates exceed inflation by so much that they destroy wealth faster than inflation ever could. We mean long-term, fixed-rate debt. A fixed-rate mortgage on a property, for example. When you lock in a mortgage, you are borrowing today's dollars and repaying with future ones. Inflation makes those future dollars worth less. Meanwhile, the property itself, the hard asset, tends to appreciate in value over time. This is the exact mechanism governments use to erode their debt burden. The same tool is available to you. Used correctly, it is powerful. The wealthy have known this for generations. Now you do too. And there is one final move that ties all three together permanently. This is the move they never teach in school. And it is simpler than you expect. Let's bring this home. Inflation is a tax. It has always been a tax. It is collected not by the IRS, not by your state government, but by the slow, steady erosion of your purchasing power every single day. It flows from savers to debtors, from people holding cash to people holding assets, from ordinary households to governments and corporations that borrowed enormous sums and watch inflation quietly shrink the real cost of paying them back. That is the expose. That is the case, laid out and closed. But here's the most important thing I want you to walk away with today. You do not have to be on the losing side. The system was built to benefit asset holders over cash holders, so become an asset holder. The barrier to entry has never been lower. You do not need a financial advisor or a trust fund. You need a brokerage account, an index fund, and the decision to start. Every month you invest, you are converting money that inflation will erode into an asset that inflation tends to lift. You are doing what governments and institutional investors have always done, using the rules of the system rather than being used by them. Here is your action plan. 3 moves. Start today. Number 1. Move your cash savings to a high-yield savings account. Stop donating your savings to inflation when you could close that gap. Number 2. Open a brokerage account. Put whatever you can into a broad market index fund like the S&P 500. Number 3. Never look at a price increase the same way again. When your grocery bill goes up, you now know what is happening. The tax is real, but so is the exit. If this video changed the way you think about money, then subscribe to the Wealth Slate right now. We hand you the tools to make it work. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I will see you in the next one. The case never closes.